Então, cada um se leva. Vai viajar. Mas está tudo bem. Que não vai. Que não viaja. Well, okay. Yes, yeah, let's talk. Okay, it's one. Okay. Àwọn náà ni, gbéra ló wà yá. Kíkà bá sọ̀rọ̀. Ó? Àwọn náà wà sí kìtì mẹ́ta. Okay, àbẹ́ mẹ́ta làwọn mẹ́ta. Okay, wọ́n ti pé báyà. Láti mọ́ta yọ àdéhùn gbà. Okay. Bọ̀dọ̀ ilé iṣẹ́ àwọn ọba Adéyẹmí. Okay, that's what. Wọ́n ti wà ń bẹ̀rẹ̀. Turn off things. Okay, I think they are all online. No, I mean, I don't know. I think but they have to start. Should I say? Professor Ebenezer. Hello. Hello, Dr. Ebenezer.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so I think this is
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
So you are the chair of this panel, right, Dr. Ebenezer? Hello. Dr. Ebenezer, can you hear us? Let me make him call.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you are the chair of this panel.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that you go on because it seems all of the panelists are online. So and this is already 3:49. So we are just 4 minutes into the session. So I think we can start where we expect people to come in because time is going already. So I don't know. Or what do you suggest?
Yeah. So
let's start.
We don't have people in the room yet. So maybe they will join us as we proceed. Okay. Okay, Dr. Ebenezer.
Yes.
Yeah, it rained very briefly, not quite long ago. It rained here, and so that might have affected some people coming into the conference room. They went for lunch. So there are two options: either to tarry or wait a little bit for them to join us, or we start immediately. So what are you?
No, we can wait for about 5 minutes. So
5 minutes. Okay, thank you so much.
We have 3 panelists. So
yes. Yeah,
because the other 2 parts of my panel were held yesterday, and there were a lot of people in the room.
Okay, so we wait a little bit. Some are already stepping.
Hello.
Yeah. So we can wait for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much.
We are 3 presenters today as against 4 yesterday. So I think we can work around the time.
We have enough time. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So thank you so much, Doc.
So I know maybe because of the timing too, but I remember the first 2 parts of the panel was really.
Hello.
We had a lot of people attend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Dr. Adekombi.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. Okay, no problem.
I was just saying we had the other 2 parts of the panel yesterday, and they were really engaging. Oh, you were there?
I was there. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good to know. So it was really engaging yesterday. So let's hope that we'll have people,
Oh.
hopefully people have not forgotten that we are three of the panel today. Yesterday, by this
Hopefully.
time, yeah, by this
Yeah.
time yesterday, we had
Yes.
we had people online. Yeah, so one, and I'm just confused. Why is my name showing twice? Screen.
What's the next? Say the key. Take it. You thank you.
I can see it twice. It's the work of IT.
Omotayo, I didn't see you in any of the panels, any of the sessions yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm currently at Cornell. I'm here for a summer fellowship, which is like 8 to 4 o'clock every day. So I actually took excuse for today, so that's why I was not able to show up yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the presentations were good.
Yeah, like I asked Stella for like a recap, which she like told me about. It's like, you know.
So well, I believe so. This session is supposed to end 11:15. Yeah.
University. Yìí Nàìjíríà ló wà gan kò ṣe Iléṣà. National Hardship. Just pop up like so at least they see that else. Okay. Yeah. Wọ́n fà lọ́ wá sí ó ti dẹ̀ mú pa. Ṣáà máa ti dára bí ètò.
Okay. I think we can start now. So uh, each presenter is going to have about 15 minutes to present their paper. But yesterday I tried to, jump in at different points of the presentation to say you have XYZ minutes left so that we are sure that everybody has equal amount of time to present their work, and then we have, some time to discuss and take questions and answers from panelists and the audience. Good morning from here. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen reason, I couldn't be in Lagos in person this year for the LSA. So thank you all for coming, and huge thanks to the panelists for participating. Two parts of the panel yesterday, and we had a lot of engaging presentations, and I'm confident that the presentations that we are also going to have today are going to be very fascinating and engaging. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Professor Adekombi.
Doctor.
Can you hear? Dr. Adekombi? Yes, sir. So yes. If you are ready for us, sir, we are ready for you. And
I'm ready.
as a panelist, you will have the opportunity to share your screen if you have like a PowerPoint slide that you want to present. Yeah.
Okay. Let me try and share my screen.
Okay. So 15 minutes, and I'll be messaging you privately. And then at some point, in case
have you seen my screen?
Not yet, sir. Not yet.
Not yet.
Have you seen my screen?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet, sir.
I've clicked. Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Have you
Yes,
seen
sir,
it?
we can see your screen now.
That's good. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
At this point, please, I'll be calling on Prophet Elijah.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Adekombi Adewale. I'm presenting on behalf of myself and on behalf of Dr. Oladimiri Habib. The topic of our study is infrastructure financing and debt subsidy in African economies. I'm starting by way of introduction. Notably, Africa faces persistent deficit over the years that hampers the economic growth. And we all know that this has been the problems that Africa has been facing over almost all parts of infrastructure, like energy infrastructure, water, transport, digital in this dispensation. However, most African economies lack domestic revenue and to finance most of this infrastructure. Therefore, they rely on external borrowing to finance the project. While infrastructure is essential for development, the growing dependence on debt, especially non-conceptional. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. While investment, I stopped, sorry. I don't know why the network. Okay.
Yeah, we can still hear you, sir.
Okay. While infrastructure investments are essential for development, the growing dependence on debt, especially non-concessional debt, non-concessional loan raises concern about excessive borrowing has become a defining policy dilemma for African governments and international lenders alike.
I think there is some issue with network. Dr. Adekombi froze.
What am I saying?
Yes, we will touch upon that. Yes, it was poor. It is presented from the yeah. This was good. And to go. The representative is presented from Nigeria.
I mean, like, I was going to suggest, like, that while Dr. Adekombi is kind of like settling with his network and everything, maybe other presenters can go.
Yeah. So, let me see. So, according to the list here, Mr. Omotayo Adenuba, you are next in line to present. Okay. So, do you think you want to go now?
Yes, I can go, but sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I am truly excited to share my work with you today, titled Beyond Infrastructure: Everyday Individuals as Part of Superstructures in Ogoni. I am an anthropologist and I'm in the Department of Anthropology here at Johns Hopkins University. In this presentation, I want to invite you to consider that everyday individuals, people like you and me, are in fact the infrastructure that brings larger systems to life. When we think of airports, railways, hospitals, or financial institutions, it is human agency that animates these spaces, not merely the concrete or steel that forms them. These structures become meaningful, functional, and powerful only to the people who use, maintain, and navigate them. This presentation is a short excerpt from a larger dissertation project. In my dissertation, I examined the history of Ogoni across pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial periods. I explore how Ogoni has evolved in relation to the presence of crude oil, the operations of multinational corporations like Shell, and the growing involvement of the Nigerian state. I also investigate the various movements, claims, and struggles over oil ownership, violence, legality, restoration, and negotiations that shape the everyday experiences of the Ogoni residents. In working through these themes, I have come to see my research through the lens of infrastructure and superstructure. Following Karl Marx's 1859 definition, According to Marx, the infrastructure refers to the economic foundation of society, the means of production such as land, resources, and factories, as well as the relations of production, meaning the relationships between people within the economic system. The superstructure, on the other hand, includes ideologies, legal system, and political institutions. So, in the context of Ogoni, the infrastructure will be the relationship between Ogoni residents and their land, resources, and institutions, while the superstructure includes the Nigerian state at large and its collaboration with multinational companies, the laws that support these partnerships, and the negotiations that support them. This presentation focuses on the infrastructure, particularly on the relationship between people and the economic system, which leads me to see the individuals I've encountered during my research as infrastructure in their own right and the pillars of superstructure. Among these individuals, one person stands out, Auntie Love, which I'm going to share with you today. She played a crucial role by helping me build human connections and enabling the snowballing process that made this research phase possible. As anthropologists, this is especially crucial. The everyday human being is not only our subject of inquiry, but also our guide, our host, and often our entry point into the field. Without our interlocutors, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to do the kind of research we do. It is in this to navigate Ogoni and to carry out my research. Alongside this, I draw inspiration from the works of anthropologists who have shaped my thinking. This includes Jason DeLeon, Soldiers and Kings, Survival in the World of Human Smuggling, Francisco Martinez, Remains of the Soviet Past in Estonia, An Anthropology of Forgetting, Repair and Urban Traces, and Abdulmalik Simon's People as Infrastructure, Intersecting Fragments in Johannesburg. Each of these works, in different ways, considers how human, through their presence, memory, and ingenuity, are the living force behind the superstructures of everyday life. So follow me closely. Sometimes in the spring of 2024, I had prepared for my summer exploratory research in Ogoni by identifying specific spaces and regions where I would conduct ethnographic research. I relied heavily on Google Maps to locate these spaces and assess the feasibility of transportation and the estimated cost of navigating them. Honestly, I will tell you that I had a well-planned summer and no worries about the smooth running of my research. The tides took a different turn when I arrived in Port Harcourt, just a 40-minute distance from Ogoni. I soon realized that I could not access the spaces and regions that Google Maps had assured me. The few people I first met warned me about how dangerous and intimidating it would be for me to venture into the streets of Ogoni alone. I quickly discovered that I needed someone to guide me through various areas, someone who could point out where I could go and where I could not, and where I might have to pay informal taxes to cross. That person was Auntie Love. I had met Auntie Love through one of the parish priests when I was serving in the region. Every morning, Auntie Love would arrive late to meet me at the church due to the demands of her job. She must make food deliveries to her vendors before 10 a.m. She seems to be a very popular figure in the area due to her voluntary service in the church. As we commuted, diverse people hurled greetings and complimented her very bright, stylish gowns. Whenever they asked who I was, she would tell them, "Now my brother." She would decline every time I suggested that we book a ride. She made us walk about 30 minutes to the bus stop every morning. At the point, I thought she wanted us to take these walks because of the compliments she was always receiving. During this walk, she would tell me about her upbringing in Ogoni and why she fled Ogoni to Port Harcourt at the height of the tussle between indigenes and companies. She would tell me if I had come to her around that time, she would have hesitated to show me around. Auntie Love would not allow us to take any measures to make the journey comfortable. She would hesitate for us to wait in the public bus until it got filled. She would prefer street food rather than restaurants. She would take me through many places, drawing my attention to landmarks. Essentially, she took me through Eleme, Tai, Gokana, and Kana, the four communities that made up the Ogoni. She introduced me to her friends who were farmers and fishermen across the waterways. At different intervals, Auntie Law would make me swear to her that I was not a journalist or secret agent. She would also make me swear to her that I was not in that region to participate in oil bunkering, conceptualized as artisanal refineries by Omalade Adobe, which is the local industry for tapping into oil pipelines and fractionally distilling crude oil, which feeds off the black market. She would make me do this to earn my trust and not put the people she was introducing to me at risk. Auntie Love used to believe the artisanal refinery was the job of her ancestors in the past, but now she's indifferent about it, since one of her relatives, who was involved in the industry, suffered burns from an explosion and was arrested upon discharge from the hospital for vandalism. Auntie Love would eventually be the person who linked me to many individuals who were very useful during my exploratory research. After weeks of walking around with her, I could no longer remember the last time I used Google Maps, which had given me so much assurance before I arrived in Ogoni. I have also gained access to so many structures and many individuals in diverse institutions who would become subjects and interlocutors in my study. For instance, during the exploratory phase of my research, Antilove helped me carve out my own map of Ogoni, one that allowed me to navigate the region without relying on technology. Throughout, I was able to make numerous contacts within the community, especially among residents involved in the diverse economies of crude oil, such as mangrove repair and restoration workers, oil flushers, fishermen, farmers, connected with institutions and NGOs responsible for cleaning and clearing oil spills in Ogoni. All these individuals to take me to a particular structure or institution. She ended up taking me to a person who would then talk to me about the workings of the institution and introduce me to other people I should talk to. Eventually, when I would write about these institutions and structures in Ogoni, I would instead find myself writing about the people in it. My ethnographic account is not unique in relying on humans, our subject of inquiry, as a form of infrastructure. In fact, many, if not most anthropology works share a similar approach. I will now share a few examples. In Jason De Leon, Soldiers and Kings, Survival and Hope in the World of Human Smuggling, De Leon helps us understand how human smuggling, a venture by some of his interlocutors, like Chino, was a microcosm of a bigger inequality problem that stems from the Western exploitation of third world countries. And now people like Chino are trying to escape these spaces that have been rendered unlivable by capitalism to the spaces that have been ideal for living by capitalism, to show his readers how the superstructure, which include railways, shelters, borders, border patrols, violence, state action, and policy works. Jason De Leon relied on human infrastructure, particularly the networks of individuals which he was able to access through his interlocutors like Chino. One paragraph was striking to me. De Leon says, he grabs a stick and starts scratching out a map of train routes in the dirt. He was talking about Chino. Names of towns are rattled off like a poem. Tapachula, Benemerito, Palenque, Coroza, Lixtepec, Tierra Blanca, Tenosik, Licheria, Salto de Aguila, Coatzacoalcos. This uneducated young man, he was talking about, has an advanced degree in Mexican geography. Places to avoid, places where a church might open its doors, places where teenagers with machetes and no patience collect $100 per head. Survivor here is a knowledge game with a steep learning curve. Chino speaks of a violent world of cycles with no viable end in sight. De Leon was talking about how Chino, like anti-love, has the geographic information of an entire superstructure in their heads. And to be able to circumvent such superstructures, one can only rely on infrastructure like them. Secondly, in Remains of the Soviet Past in Estonia, an anthropology of forgetting, repair and urban traces, Martinez explores the interaction between material culture and generational change in Estonia, particularly how everyday residents respond to and relate to Soviet remnants. In chapter 4 of his book, where he explores one of these remains, the Lena Hall building, Martinez argues that the building has acquired meanings beyond those envisioned by its original designers and have been shaped instead by individual experiences and broader societal transformations. Interestingly, it describes the building as having matured. What does it mean to ascribe a human quality to a building? Let's turn to the statement of one of his interlocutors, Rain. Rain says, the building is not only part of my identity, but of the identity of the city, if not the whole country. Rain had crossed paths with diverse people in that building and have forged diverse relationships with these people in such a way that when this building gets demolished, it is his identity and his relationship that gets demolished. Here, we find a structure that has its materiality emboldened by human infrastructure. We find humans and structure inseparable in such a way that to understand such buildings, one can only understand the human that inhabit it. Third, in People as Infrastructure, Intersecting Fragments in Johannesburg, Simeon tells us how people act as infrastructure in inner city Johannesburg. This idea of people as infrastructure is rooted in the informal nature of Johannesburg inner city economy, where residents must navigate the unwritten realities that govern their lives. Through his ethnography on fraud schemes, drug economy, sex work economy, and the hotels that take place, Simon showed that African cities are shaped by an incomplete process of economic modernization, where the government is not able to provide all the basic amenities and necessities of life. As such, Residents must block out this incompleteness by acting as infrastructure, by combining a wide variety of activities that interact and adapt to ever-changing spaces. One key takeaway in Simon's work is that to understand the superstructure of the inner cities of Johannesburg, one must rely on the incomplete structures made available by the states and the completeness of this structure by the residents, which are the human infrastructure. To conclude, as I've shown you in my work with Auntie Love in Ogoni, just like De Leon's work with Chino, Martinez's exploration of the linear hall with Rain, and Simon's research in Johannesburg, people were at the center of our studies. They weren't just part of our story, they were the foundation, the living infrastructure that made each of our research projects, the superstructures, possible. What then will people as infrastructure allow us to know? Seeing people as infrastructure allows us to grasp how human relationships quietly power the systems that shape everyday life. My presentation also calls for an interdisciplinary approach to understanding materiality and material culture, as they are almost inseparable from the people who own them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Omotayo, for that wonderful presentation. I was wondering if we have Dr. Adekombi back online. I think I saw a message in the chat that is back, but I can't seem to find him. Dr. Adekombi, are you back? Oh, okay.
Let's get talks.
Yes, sir. Can you hear us, sir? Can you hear us?
Hello?
Welcome back, sir. Can you hear us?
I'm back. Sorry, it was network. I'm very sorry.
Yes, we figured. So we just used the opportunity to have the second person.
Other presenter. That's
Yes,
good.
so you can please you can present now, but we are getting short on time.
Fine.
If
I will
can...
quickly go through. I'll quickly do that.
Okay, sir. All right, sir. So you can share your screen if you want, sir.
Okay. Can you please share the screen for me?
I don't have your slide of me. So
it was shared the other time. I don't know how to send it.
So on your screen,
yeah,
did you see the share button on your screen, sir?
Yes, it was there.
Yeah, is it open on your laptop? The presentation?
Yes, it's open.
Yeah, if you press on share, can you find it?
Okay, let me quickly do that.
Yeah, sir. So once you
share is not turned on. That's what it was telling me. Send request.
Okay, let me see.
Share is not turned on. You can request sharing.
The IT person in the room, can you please allow Dr. Adekombi share his screen, please? Maybe you need to authorize him.
Okay, can go ahead now.
Okay, sir. So you can go ahead and share your screen now. You can try it.
Yes, can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry about that. It was network. I was talking about the infrastructure financing and debt sustainability. I've talked about the fact that most African economies, they rely on external debt to finance most of those infrastructures. Then I'm now want to tell you that this infrastructure encompassing both hard and soft components. That is, all those infrastructure, they are fundamental to economic growth and sustainable development. Also, we have in terms of the hard infrastructure, we have energy, power, plants, road, and talking about the soft infrastructure, we talk about the institutions and the services. And those things, they are core to the economy. Tight infrastructures. Before we have two types of infrastructure. We have economic infrastructure and social infrastructure. But in recent age, we are now adding digital infrastructure. All those infrastructure, they are core to economic development. The failure to secure additional financial resources results in inadequate infrastructure development in African nations, and it has been affecting a lot of sectors. For example, health sectors, social security, education, and the likes. Although all over the world, there is no problem. We believe that borrowing by government is perfectly acceptable as long as it is consistent with complete fiscal policy direction. Most African countries are currently at the crucial junction due to increasing debt obligation and the ongoing fiscal imbalances. Notwithstanding significant potential, developing economy continue to fall short due to substantial accumulated debt, consequently preventing poverty alleviation, industrial innovation, sustainable. Previous studies have on the link between infrastructure finance and debt sustainability in Africa remains unclear up to date. While most of them believe that public debt enhance infrastructure finance, most other scholars, they went against this one. However, what we know is that this study will specifically examine the impact of infrastructure finance on debt sustainability in 5 African countries, which serves as our scope: Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Ethiopia, and Ghana, over the period of 1980 to 2023. This country was selected based on their significant investment in infrastructure and varying experiences with external debt. Literature review. In terms of the literature review, we have various concepts of infrastructure financing and debt sustainability. They are well explained in the literature. And talking about the theoretical underpinning, fiscal response function developed by Bonds 1988 is a principal analytical tool that we use because it is used to assess the governmental debt and sustainability. Bonds asserted that there is a positive and statistical significant reaction of the primary balance to previous debt level, which is a necessary condition for satisfying intertemporal government budget constraints and is guaranteeing debt sustainability. Our methodology, we use panel data covering the period of 44 years as stated earlier, and the sample countries has also been stated. Most of all our data were obtained from WDI, World Development Indicators. And these variables that we use debt service, health infrastructure, energy infrastructure, FDI, foreign direct investment, and income in form of our GDP. Model was stated correctly, as well as with the equations were also stated. We employ autoregressive distributive lag bond test approach developed by Peserian and Sheen and Smith 2001 because it focuses on the long run issues. Our variables and measurements were also stated as I have said. Then all the variables, the indicators and measurements were also stated. In terms of our results, the results initiate the study initiates the result through the conduct of unit truth tests. This test ascertained the presence of unit truth in variables, signifying non-stationarity, and hence averting false regression that may result in the erroneous interpretation of the correlation among the variables. Looking at the results, we discovered that all our variables, there's only one that is significant at levels when we use augmented equivalent, and that one is only GDP, which is significant at level. Even at first difference, when we test it, it is only GDP that's also significant. And for the fact that only one variable is significant at level and at first difference, it gives us the opportunity to continue with the use of our ALDL bond tests. Bond tests as provided in the table 3, provides a compelling evidence of long-run link between the variables that we are using. If you look at the test very, very well, the lower bound, IO and I1, if you look at the value of S statistics, is greater than the IO and I1, which is theoretically gives us the opportunity that it is good for us to use ARDL. And in terms of our results, the results of estimated of the ARDL are given in the they were given in table 4 below. The ARDL indicates that the GDP coefficient is a key determinant. It's a key determinant in this study because we use it as a variable that that is determined that we need to concentrate on in talking about our debt sustainability. This shows that the debt sustainability and GDP, there is increase in debt in public debt service by 1%. We reduce GDP by 0.03%, and it is statistically significant. And talking about the other variable, increase in public debt will also increase health infrastructure by 0.000%. It is also significant. All other variables as well, energy and FDI, they are significant. They are positive and they are significant. If you look at it very well, the implication of this is that public debt, public service debt is very, when we rely on it to finance all those variables, they will bring minute importance or of significant, little significance to us in the long run, because it is only GDP, which is our primary variable, that is negative. And once GDP is negative, I wonder what will happen to all other variables, because all other variables, they are positive, they are increasing, but they are the percentage is very low. Error correction model. When we look at our error correction model shows the speed of adjustment. This signifies that this signifies the coefficient of ECM, which is 1 minus 1.85. The coefficient is negative and is statistically significant at 1%, satisfying the theoretical expectation of ECM and confirming the presence of valid adjustment mechanism. In this case, what this means is that the coefficient of minus 1.8 suggests that approximately 185% of the disequilibrium in debt service ratio from previous period is corrected in this current period. We also conduct diagnosis tests to confirm the reliability of our variable. We noted that the Brighoffrey serial correlation also shows, the F statistics shows that we have 0.7, 0.55, and the F statistics show 0.57, which is not significant. That one confirms the reliability of the variables we use and our results. In terms of the conclusion for this study states that at this point, this study points to a major policy crossroad for African economies, meaning that the urgent need for infrastructure in African economy must be balanced against the long-term implication of unsustainable debt. Without strategic management and value-driven investment, infrastructure funding may become a burden to the African economies rather than a driver of progress. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful presentation, building off what the first presenter, also the fantastic job that the first presenter did. So if you could just stop sharing your screen, sir, so that I can quickly share my own screen and run through my presentation, and then we have the question and answer session where members of the audience will have the opportunity to direct questions to all the panelists. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, you can see your screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see.
Yeah. Okay. So, and also, I will need somebody to time me so that I also know that I'm not going over the allotted time. So very quickly, good afternoon to very distinguished members of the audience in Lagos and good wherever any part of the world that you are listening to us from today. Good morning from here. Unfortunately, like I said, due to some very last minute challenges, I couldn't travel to Nigeria to attend this conference in person. So, but I have titled my presentation today, People Call Us Community Slum. We call it home. Community developed infrastructure as placemaking strategy in Makoko in Lagos, Nigeria. And this presentation is like part of my ongoing dissertation, which I'm trying to complete at the moment, you know. I'm also a PhD candidate in the Department of Anthropology at the University of Iowa. So just like an outline of my presentation today, I will start with the background of how I became interested in the question of infrastructure. And then since my work focuses on Makoko, I'll give some brief, background information on the community of Makoko. And then as an anthropologist, I believe that photos tell of stories. I will be showing I'll be displaying some photos today to sort of give us visual representations of some of the things I'll be talking about, especially inequality when it comes to the distribution of infrastructural development projects. And then I will introduce the concept of community developed infrastructure, which is a major conceptual focus in my dissertation research, and also the concept of placemaking, which I have, sort of been reading a lot about in recent times to sort of theorize my presentation today. And also, I will also talk about community development infrastructure, CDI, as placemaking strategy to contest how Makoko residents use CDI to contest the negative framing of their community. So, to give a background, my dissertation research is drawing very, very heavily on the concept of infrastructure. Especially, I'm looking at how factors such as inadequate infrastructure and unjust urban planning policies that we see, such that elitist settlements enjoy a lot of infrastructural development projects, while low-income communities, marginalized communities, barely enjoy anything from the government. There is extensive literature on urban planning inequality and inequitable distribution of infrastructure in Africa. And what we have seen is that what we are seeing in terms of segregation, in terms of urban planning segregation that we see today in most African cities, are not just something that is not something that started 10 years ago. They date back to the colonial period, where we saw a dynamic whereby the colonial officials lived in well-furnished areas with a lot of infrastructure, including hospital, road, good road networks, while people, colonized peoples, lived in places, slum shanties, with inadequate access to infrastructure and heightened susceptibility. So, specific to Lagos, I want to assume that a large number of us are familiar with Lagos. When you are talking about inequality, I always say it. Lagos is like a very good example of where you can study inequality in terms of infrastructural development projects and its distribution. And there's been a lot of work also done on how wealthy neighborhoods in Lagos enjoy some certain kinds of infrastructure, wide informal settlement, and marginalized communities do not enjoy this type of infrastructure. So, and like I said, my work is focusing on Makoko, and I'm essentially exploring how inadequate access to infrastructure in the community makes the peoples susceptible to infectious disease, and how these dynamics, contribute to the negative framing of Makoko. If you look at the media, when you Google Makoko, you see a lot of things. It's a site of disease. People have called Makoko dirty. They've called the people threats to the mega city status of Lagos. So there's a lot of negative framing around the community of Makoko. And just to give like a very brief background of Makoko, it's a huge informal settlement in Lagos, informal in quotes, because the term itself is problematic. And estimated population is about 100,000 people, although people claim there are more than like 300,000 based on my findings in the community. And it's a hugely marginalized urban community. For instance, while neighborhoods such as Banana Island and Ikoyi, and I will show that in my subsequent slides, enjoy massive infrastructural development projects from the government, communities like Makoko only see the government when they come with their bulldozer and the threat of displacing the people from the community. So there is high prevalence of malaria in the community, and people rely on locally made tools and infrastructure to sort of get by in their day-to-day activities. Economic activities in Makoko revolve around fishing, lumbering, small-scale trading, etc. So, like I said, pictures tell story. And these are some of all the pictures I'm sharing now are pictures from my ethnographic research, which is about right now over 20 months, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a photo of the Eco Atlantic City, well-lit street, interlocked roads. The aesthetics is beautiful, right? This is also a photo of Banana Island that I took in one of my research visits to Nigeria. I think that was last year summer. Well-lit road, waste disposal system. As a matter of fact, when I was there, I saw waste disposal companies and government organizations coming in and out to collect waste. So this is also Ikoyi, well-marked road, well-paved roads, everything looking very good. And here we have Makoko, where the people barely get anything from government. And this is also a photo of Makoko to just sort of give us a visual representation of, the difference between the elitist communities and communities like Makoko. And this is also like two different pictures of a period when it just rained and the community became super waterlogged. And to sort of introduce the concept of community developed infrastructure, like I said, popular discourse about Makoko centers around site of disease, site of hopelessness, site of helplessness. So, and as I will be showing in subsequent slides, the concept of community developed infrastructure, CDI, is a strategy that the people use to sort of contest the negative framing of their community. Community development infrastructure simply means community-led initiatives that the people are using to build infrastructure to caution the effects of inadequate infrastructure and government marginalization, evidenced by lack of infrastructural funding in the community. And examples of community developed infrastructure that the people develop themselves include wooden bridges, locally made canals, drainage systems, wooden walkways, sandfields, etc. And also, just to sort of introduce this concept of placemaking, which is also like a key conceptual focus in this research, the concept became popular but render their places meaningful and endow them with social importance. So in subsequent years, there has been a lot of usage of the concept of placemaking by different authors and scholars. And essentially what it means is strategies that people, especially marginalized peoples, use, to make their community more livable. And also, like as I've argued so far, CDI in the context of Makoko represent a strategy which with which the people use to contest the negative framing of their community. And the goal, when I was talking to the people on the ground, one of the goals of constructing infrastructure with majorly wood and locally sourced materials is to manage community problems. Like in some situations, people construct bridge to ensure free flow of water in the community and reduce the frequency of stagnant water that serves as breeding site for mosquitoes that in turn transmit malaria into the human body. They also build different kinds of infrastructure, like I've said, to make their community more livable. They also use this infrastructure as a strategy to negotiate access to city life. And the people use essentially this infrastructure to contest the negative framings of their community, as I will show with one of the quotes from one of my research participants. And it's a way that the residents promote their own agency to say, hey, we know we are marginalized, but we are not helpless. We need government to help us. We need people to help us. But we are also doing something on the ground to make sure that our condition improves and our condition feels better. So, and this is one of the quotes from one of my research participants, which is essentially talking about how the people use community developed infrastructure to, contest the negative framing of their community. And I will quickly read this. This person said, people say a lot of negative things about us. Some call our community home of disease. People say Makoko is a slum, but to us, this is home. Look around, many of the people you see here were born here. Many have lived here for over 40 years. Many have lived here for over 40 years. We know we face a lot of challenges and the government does not care about us, apart from threatening to destroy our homes. But this city is not only for the rich. We also have right to live in the city and we are doing everything we can to make our communities better. We build the drainages and bridges to reduce mosquito invasion. We fill waterlogged areas. We are trying. We hope government will help us. And that is a direct quote from, like I said, this discourse about Makoko being a slum, being an illegal community, being a site of death, a site of disease, is not something that is restricted to only scholars or even the public alone. This has been one of the discourses that the government have used in the past to justify, the threat of demolition and the displacement of the people. For instance, in 2012, the Lagos state government at that time gave the people barely, I think, 3 days, 72 hours notice to vacate the community. And then the next thing the people saw was that they came with bulldozers to bulldoze their houses, to demolish their community. So one of the things that the government said then was that, oh, the people are illegal, they are criminals. They serve as a threat to the mega city status of Lagos. So, and these are some of the quotes that the government said in the media then. This was actually a quote from one of the traditional leaders in the community, who is saying, people are calling our community shanties, but we call it dwelling houses, just in direct response to government efforts to demolish their. Just like an example of some of the strategies that people use to build infrastructure. People construct bridges, people build roads. For instance, on my left hand side here is a pile of used bricks, demolished bricks that people were using. As you can see, that this particular road was waterlogged. But after an episode of a very major rainfall, the people came together to sort of, spread these bricks, these used demolished blocks on the road. The goal of this is to reduce waterlogged areas in the community and to make movement of people and persons much easier in the community. And this is also like an instance of how people construct pedestrian bridges. These bridges serve a lot of functions in the community. It connects different parts of the community to another. And then it also, in some situations, it provides easy access for water to flow through the community, because a huge part of Makoko is situated on the water of Lagos Lagoon. So just to conclude, what I've seen is that a lot of people say, hey, people are not doing a lot, but to an outsider, all of these efforts may appear to be mundane, unimpressive. What are the people doing? What is this breed that the people are? How does this help them? But to the residents, they represent efforts to manage problems, render their place meaningful, and imbue it with social importance, which is where the concept of placemaking comes in. And this presentation aligns with the growing focus on multidimensional nature of infrastructure, that beyond physical objects, infrastructure can tell us a lot about politics, how people are negotiating using physical infrastructure to negotiate access to political rights, to citizenship, to agency, and so a lot of other things that social scientists have talked about. So thank you for listening. I will now, to be sure that we have enough time for question and answer session, I will turn it over to the audience now to see if we have anybody in the room who has questions for any of the panelists. And please, when you ask your question, please mention specifically the person you are directing your question towards. Yeah, please. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I'm directing the first question to Mr. Omotayo Adenugba from Johns Hopkins University. Yeah, we listened to your presentation, a fantastic one at that, but from my observation, it appears you have only offered a comprehensive report of your ethnographic research in Ogoni. The problematic of this research isn't clear to me as an individual. So I was struggling with the central aim of your research, and I was also struggling with the findings of your research. So in addition to that, you tried to review extant literature on the issues you were trying to address from different places, but you didn't establish the synergies between the findings of those studies and the findings of your own study. So I think you need to do that for us so that we can have a clear picture of the focus of your work. Thank you. Now, for Dr. Ebenezer Olamiposi Adeyemi, so we are back. So,
Yes.
Dr. Ebenezer,
we lost you. We lost you for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Ebenezer, are you with me?
We can hear you now, sir.
Okay, so
we can hear you now, sir.
So my question for you is this: you have established in your study that there appears to be some inequalities in urban infrastructural provision in Lagos, using Makoko as a case study. But the question I have for you is, what do you think accounts for these inequalities in urban infrastructural provision? What do you think are the salient issues responsible for it? Then for Dr. Matthew Adekombi from Dominion University, a fantastic presentation. You provided a lot of statistical analysis. In your findings, a lot of values were so you provided statistical data, okay, and but you have not done proper analysis of these statistical values, the coefficients. You provided the coefficients, -1, +1, and all of that. Now, how does that, what to a layman who doesn't understand the statistical tools that you have deployed in your analysis, how would you, juxtapose these statistical values with infrastructure financing and debt sustainability, which appear to be the key variables in your research? Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Should I go first?
No. So we will take all the questions and then please note them down.
Okay.
We will have time to respond to them. We will take all the questions so that then.
Thank you very much. A beautiful presentation. My name is Ruth. I want to direct my questions to Mr. Adeyemi Ebenezer. I thought I should ask if you have done some other extensive researches on this Makuku, because very recently, that should be sometimes in 2023, there is also a community that is relatively similar to Makuku, somewhere in Ogoru. They call that place Okeri. There was a massive demolition in that environment. Those people live in slum, but the government came and there was a demolition and it affected them very grossly. Then another one that I know of, another terrible demolition that happened, that should be sometimes in the 90s, in the 1990s. So I don't know if you've checked your archives for. So that's, I hope you're getting my question. Hello. So that settlement is called, they used to call it White Sand or Newberry, very close to Dolphin Estate. There was a massive demolition there. The people were displaced, just like Makoko is experiencing some threats from the government. Now, my question is, with all of these things happening in these communities, some of these waterside communities, these slum communities, where people really are built home, people are making life there, but still they are under government threat. So what can they do for the government to either come and help them, assist them, and make them look like the plush environment? Or what can they do for the government to just allow them in this research? If you could go to the archives and get some of this information, it can be included. But of course, the most important thing right now is what can be done, even as we are in, of course, I know it's an academic research, but it can also help some of the researches and the information. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, the presenter. For Dr. Matt, when I listened to you and I was like, wow, I have seen an anthropologist who has presented like a spoken poet. For me, it was beautiful. I didn't want you to stop. I enjoyed it. That was a good one for me. However, I think there's when I had a statement from you that maybe human beings are infrastructure, something like that, and I was wondering, a governor a few years ago said it was after stomach infrastructure. So are we saying that maybe your paper is along that line? I will suggest that if we are seeing human beings as infrastructure, I think there's a need to emphasize that there's a need for us to have a proper education about development. If I understand what development is, he understands what it is, she understands what it is, and we are ready to go for participants or participatory paradigm of development. I think that will benefit our communities. For Mr. Ebenezer, I like the area where you came from. I think this is what a scholar, Afe Adogame, called development from below. The people are making their little efforts to the development of their communities. Even when a government is not ready to do much for them, they are ready to do the little they contributed, or they are contributing the little they have the capacity to contribute. But like she said, I think there's a need for us to look at it from the perspective of solution journalism, maybe something like that. What can we do? What are the recommendations? What can we say? What are the things that we encourage people, the government, and even the people themselves to be more serious about the development of their communities? Then for Dr. Adebayo, I think there's a need actually to interpret those statistical data using a language that we can understand. It is great. I love it. I like the volume of data that you came up with. However, the women selling ewedu in the market, they may not understand it. So I believe there's a need for us to, like for somebody who was even saying, even me, who is not selling ewedu, it may be difficult for me. So please, sir, I think it would be better if you can use a language, simple language, or to interpret it in a simple term that we can understand. Thank you, sir.
We'll take your time.
Yeah. So, please, sir, if you can be brief with the question, sir.
Okay, yeah. So thanks so much for this wonderful presentation. So my first question goes to Mr. Omotayo Adenuga. So, I mean, in your presentation, you talked about two concepts, concept of infrastructure and superstructure. And if I understand you perfectly, you said human beings were in infrastructures, while the government was the superstructures. So hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So in your presentation, I was expecting a kind of connection between those two concepts. How do they play out in your study? So humans as infrastructure and government as superstructure. So what is the interface? How did they play out? So I was expecting that in your study. So the connections. So, and of course to Mr. Ebenezer. So this is just an observation that you would also have incorporated map in your study. I mean shows Makoko, and you understand. So in Lagos. So that's my information. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had one question for Ebenezer Adeyemi, kind of to the point of some of the previous comments. I was wondering if in your research in Makoko you had also come across the Nigeria Slum Settlement Federation. They're part of Slum Shack Dwellers International. And one of the things that they've been trying to do, or that they're doing, is mapping the community to put themselves on the map, to enumerate the households, the businesses and things like that, and use that as a strategy to negotiate tenure with the government, which has been done successfully in Kenya. So just to the point of how do we build on what the community is doing to actually get them tenure and give them the right to stay put, and for the government to support their efforts and to support them living, if you had come across that work. But thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Should we go now?
Yeah, so I have just very brief questions for the panelists too, and then we can take them together. So, sir, Dr. Adekombi, you said something about increasing debts, increase in debt servicing, public debts, and you correctly. So, and you also said something like public debt for infrastructural development will not really bring a lot of results because it will just be bringing mounting debts. And I was wondering if you could clarify your countries to sort of finance infrastructural development projects in their countries, and also are you trying to establish a nexus between debt financing and low GDP? Are you saying the two are correlated? And for Mr. Omotayo Adenuba, I'm just wondering, as an anthropologist, I'm interested in stories. I remember you mentioned a particular or different instances whereby you had to swear, I think you said Sister Love, to tell them, hey, you were not an agent, you are not a secret agent, you are not working for the government, which is, in communities where we work as researchers, community members have legitimate concerns, especially because of their past experiences with government. So I was wondering how you negotiated that. How did you negotiate those demands vis-a-vis your own personal beliefs as an anthropologist, as a person, as a human being? So what we'll do now is we go in the order in which we presented. So each panelist will have about 3 minutes to please just summarize answers to the questions so that we have.
Yeah. So thank you so much for the questions that have been asked. I think one major synergy between all the questions is to tell people about the problematics of the research at which I'm addressing, as well as the findings. So the problematic at which I'm addressing is the fact that whenever we think as infrastructure, we think as infrastructure as a kind of a structure that is just there, right? And what happens for instance, when we think about a financial institution, and then we think about this financial institution as a financial institution, it doesn't get us to the crux of the matter. So the thing I'm addressing is that when we think about the humans that are really inhabiting these institutions, that is when we really get to the crux of the matter. And that is why I was using the concept of infrastructure and superstructure. Superstructure is when Marx was using superstructure and infrastructure, he was trying to actually separate the models at which we reason about this. And because we can say a whole superstructure is the Nigerian state and then the whole economics of what is happening. And we can talk at length about that and really forgetting about the people that are really operating with this superstructure, which are the human beings, which are kind of connecting all models of institutions together. So I'm working on an oil refinery. I'm working about how Shell is polluting Ogoni and all of those things. I could really look at those models and talk about Shell, talk about the infrastructure, talk about everything. And then but when I really move close to Auntie Love and tell her oh, what is really happening? And she tells me about little experiences of the everyday life. This is what happens every day. This is how I navigate everyday life. These are the places I can go. These are the ways I've been protesting and all of those things. Then it kind of connects us to the really crux of the matter. For instance, one of the panelists was talking about so many numbers, so many figures, talking about the economics and all of this thing. And then as anthropologists, we talk about something as biopolitics. This is how the governments reduce human beings to numbers. Such a way that when the government wants to go and borrow money from the IMF bank, they tell them oh, we have poverty in Nigeria, but then when we think about these things, oh, there's subtle ways in which the government is actually enacting this poverty in such a way that this become weaponized to get more debt. You see what I'm saying? So at these instances, human beings are kind of very vital. We think of them as infrastructure in their own right because they are the ones that enable all those superstructure, all those buildings and everything to come together. And the linkages I used in my
please go ahead.
Is somebody saying something? Yeah, the materials are kind of
1 minute.
The materials I leveraged on in my research, such as all of these books. For instance, the book where the man was talking about the Lena Hall building and talking about a structure, a Soviet remnant, and how the government want to demolish it. For the government, it's just about the building. It's just a building, we're going to demolish it. But when you start talking about people on the road, they tell oh, in this building, this was where I met somebody who paid the school fees of my kid. This was the building where I met this person. These are the building where I sleep. And then when you start thinking about this human relation, you forget that this building is just made of concrete or steel. Then you start seeing how that building has actually impacted human life. And when this building is not just a building, it's my identity, it's the identity of the whole community. So that means if you are dismantling that building at that instance, you are thinking about it as a concrete or steel, you are taking away human beings, you are taking out the connection of human beings. And this is really very instrumental when we think about even infrastructure and the whole concept of Nigeria. When we think about infrastructure, we should think about the connection it has to human lives, and then it enables us to actually address infrastructural issues more closer. I don't know. Yeah, I'm running out of time. I can't answer the remaining question. But Mr. Posi asked me a second question. I was able to navigate trust issues and everything. I really don't know. Yeah, because I felt I felt like I didn't approach anti-love as an anthropologist as such, and with a formal set of question and inquiries. I approached her as a kind of friend, as a person who was just like getting into the community and just trying to learn more about the community. And it kind of like broke the barrier of like, oh, this person is not coming to ask questions. This person is coming to like probably live here and know the workers. And I think there's like a kind of thing that does to like the quality of the research we do. I think that's the answer I can give for now, but we can talk more about it later.
Yeah, hopefully we still have more time. We'll still have the opportunity to come back to. So, but
Yeah.
because we are
Yeah.
almost out
Yeah.
of time.
To start with, I'm very sorry for using all those terminologies as and the likes. That's just what we do anyway. So we use secondary data, empirical analysis. But to a layman, what I'm trying to say to a layman, to juxtapose my analysis is that what that one means is that when we increase debt, that is when we borrow from all those non-conceptional people, when we borrow more loan in future, what that one means is that we are unable, if we are unable to increase our GDP, we are unable to increase our goods and services. If the more borrowed is unable to improve all those goods and services, if it's unable to improve FDI, if it's unable to improve health, it's unable to improve road infrastructure, why are we borrowing? It becomes problem to us. The data that we use to predict the future tells us that there are some factors, hidden factors affecting African economies, because I made mention that there's no problem borrowing. I made mention it that there's no problem borrowing. Almost all countries all over the world borrow, even America borrow. But what are we using that model? What is the significance of money? That is where the problem lies. So when we are now borrowing, we have other African factors that doesn't allow those that doesn't allow those borrowing to be fruitful. That is what I am saying, that if we borrow more money in future, it will bring minute improvement in infrastructural facilities. That is what that one means concerning that. They are not saying that what are the other options. Somebody asked me, what are the other options for debt financing? Definitely, we have our own ways of raising money. But this money, even if we borrow it, we can use it as well to generate more money. That is what I said in my conclusion, that if that money borrow, if we use it strategically, it will be drivers of progress for us instead of accumulating burden to the economies. So that is what I'm trying to say, that we have other ways. I have recommendation in the study. If you want it, I can even send it. I have recommendation. But the problem is that we have our own Africanized factors like corruptions and the likes that doesn't make that money to be worthwhile. And the empirical studies have shown that we are not using it as we're supposed to use. That is what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. Very quickly to the questions. I think the first question was talking about what are the salient issues responsible for infrastructural inequality. I would say, it falls within the broader dynamics of inequality within the Nigerian society. So the Makoko example is just a case study. We all know, almost all over Nigeria, there is this sort of inequality when it comes to distribution of resources, especially infrastructure. So we see a dynamic whereby people live in affluent neighborhoods where the social, political, and economic elites reside in, enjoy more from the government in terms of roads, in terms of just like basic amenities. So I would say it falls within the broader dynamics of socio-economic inequality in the broader Nigerian society. So the issues that are responsible for it are the people, the government, because I always tell people have their life, and that says a lot. That ties very well to talk about what can we do too. For instance, in Makoko, for instance, there is a huge presence of NGO. There's a huge presence of development agencies. There's a huge presence of people, coming together to say, hey, let's help the people. But what we've seen is that this does not really address the root cause of the issue, which is marginalization. The people are marginalized. And quite frankly, from my work in the community, to really, really achieve anything meaningful, any sort of like huge overhaul in the community, instead of, going there with bulldozer to threaten the people, if the government can, come up with initiatives to help the people. For instance, we see a situation whereby we are spending a lot of money buying private jets for the president. We see a lot of situations where governors are spending money renovating across across all. So you see a lot of, so imagine, like very recently I saw something that the Oyo State government spending almost 60 billion to renovate the government. Imagine putting 60 billion naira in a place like Makoko to do proper sand filling. You imagine the kind of respite it will bring to the people to create what's it called, waste disposal systems. But what we see is the government just goes there to say, hey, you people are illegal, and they just, come with this force, brute force and stuff. So I would still say we will need to continue to advocate. And what I see in Nigeria is also like we always act like it doesn't concern me. For instance, somebody who is living in a well-furnished mansion in Yaba will feel like, oh, whatever the people in Makoko are suffering doesn't concern me. But come together as citizens of the country to advocate for better treatment of citizens from our government. I think that is one of the solutions to the problem. Like, we need to hold our government account. So, and we need to come across together as citizens of the country, not just saying, oh, they are residents of Makoko. And to the question about if I've seen other dynamics in Nakas, yes, I sort of, it's something that is very common in Lagos. The dynamics of demolishing, even where Eco Atlantic is today. I've forgotten the name of the community that was displaced and demolished. We have Morocco. We have several examples of informal settlement being destroyed by the government to create way for wealthy people to buy those land. So we see a transfer of land from the to the rich. And thank you so much for the question. And I'm going to round up now about the Nigerian Slum Settlement Federation. I did come across that organization and I spoke to a couple of their staff, but for anonymity's sake, I won't be able to mention the names, but I did come across it. I think their office is at Yaba, Sabo at Yaba. So, and I went there, and those are some of the organizations that are doing work on the ground to improve the condition of people living in the kind of situation that Makoko residents are living in. I think I addressed all the questions. Do we have time to take more questions?
There's no time. There's no time. You've exhausted your time, sir. It is 5:15 already.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you so much again to the panelists for your insightful presentation. This has been very insightful, and huge thanks to our distinguished audience, for the engaging questions, for attending, to listen to some of the work that we are doing. And we also, I always say something. Research is a thing, it's a collaborative effort. If you are, recommendations of what we can do to make, to even answer some of the questions that you asked us, please feel free to email us with recommendations on what we can do to help the people and stuff. So thank you all for attending today, and good luck with your current and future endeavors. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Well,